Welcome to the Explosive Strength Podcast with Jared Bidney. Today's episode, we're going to talk more about some training results, kind of cover up over what we did a little bit last episode, talking about training results. I'm also going to go over some questions that I've gotten through email and just some general questions that pop in with me. Also, I am going to go over some science and how I've taken stuff from over here, stuff from over here, and stuff from over here. It's almost like you take this book right here. It's, if you're watching YouTube, you see I've got my super training book out today. I did not have my science and practice of strength training. I got a quote in there that I'm going to use. I like it so much that I took a picture of it because I got so many weak-minded people at the gym sometimes that I got to show them, if you're not doing this, you're leaving a lot of freaking gains on the table. So let's get into this. I love seeing the people improve. My whole deal with the gym is trying to make these athletes better than what I was. I'm trying to give them the things that I wanted and I didn't know how to get, and no one else knew how to give to me. So when someone pays me or whatever, I'm going to give back to them as much knowledge and try to teach whatever I do so that they can understand what we're doing. And I'm also trying to test them on a monthly basis so they know what is or what is not working, and I'm not lying to them, and I'm just not making crap up. Because a lot of people say, "What's your philosophy, Jared?" Well, Jared don't have a philosophy. I don't have. It's a philosophy is a thought process of, yes, this may or may not work. When my whole thing is, it's yes or no. It's black or white. It's the truth. And if I don't know the truth, I'll let you know I don't know, and there's no shame in not knowing if you don't know. So anyway, like last month, I had a kid. He started off. Month one, his first bench max was 185. Next month, it was 210. Next month, it was 250. And last month, it was 275. And I just love seeing things happen like that. And I also work with a guy and his son in Oregon, Christopher and Owen. Owen's bench max when he started with me was roughly 175 pounds. And this was in January. We are in March right now, and he's already doing 185 sets of 5. But what happens is I'll get kids, like maybe I finally got Owen to miss a rep on his bench. You know, missing reps are good. And like people think just because they're missing does not mean they're just, if they think if they missed, they're not getting better. I had a kid at the gym the other day was half depressed because he missed a rep. No, you want to miss a rep. Everybody in school and everybody taught growing up is taught, hey, if you're missing your reps, you lower your weight. No, you stick with that stimulus. Make sure you rest. Sometimes they're missing reps because they're not resting around. I had this old school stupid meathead mentality thing about the gym is not a fitness place. We're not like a school or college or anything like that. We're not. Explosive Mechanics is a gym. I don't treat it as a business. I treat it as a place for athletes to come in and get better. We're not rolled on a whistle. We're not bam, 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 trying to stay busy. Like if you look at some competitors or you look at these big time franchises out there, and if they say they train athletes or whatever, they're keeping every athlete busy every minute for the time that they're there. And so when you get to the gym, you think, and you see someone sitting around for 5 minutes between their sets, you're like, what am I paying this guy for? You're paying me for results, and I'm trying to educate you on why they got to rest. You know, a lot of people are taught, like most people my age, when we were in weight room, we had to stay busy. Like these high school kids right now in the high school weight room, they got to stay busy. They're get up from bench. They may do a kettlebell swing. They may do a trap bar. They may do something like that between their bench. So if you got a group of 3 per rack, one's spotting, one's benching, and one's doing something else. Someone's always doing something somewhere, and I don't know where in the hell this thought process got in. And but if you look at the athletes overseas, the Chinese weightlifters, they'll do something, then they'll sit around for a while and rest, then they'll do something, sit around for a while and rest. And so this dad came in the gym and signaled over to his son, like almost like a diamond-like push-up thing, whatever. So I just kind of said maybe he's supposed to do push-ups today or whatever, so I didn't even pay attention to it. And I walked by his rack and he's missing a rep. I said, why the hell are you missing your reps? Because I have him at a load to where he shouldn't be missing the reps. And he said, my dad had me doing push-ups between my sets. I said, do what? I said, no wonder you're missing damn reps. I had to go over there and tell the dad he can't do push-ups between sets because he's missing reps. Oh, he can't? no, this is not a freaking fitness place. This is strength conditioning. And I said, if he's got to have complete recovery in order to produce high effort over and over again, if he's missing reps because he's doing push-ups, we're not accomplishing the goal. And Dad just looked at me like that, like I was crazy. And I was just like, but he's been coming for a few months. I didn't write down or bring his gains up, but he started off, had a 15, 20-pound bench improvement his first month. Next month was inconsistent, did not move. Next month was inconsistent, did not move. Then he did not come through football season. Kind of off and on. I don't think people understand really what it takes to get results. But like when I got someone doing sets of 5s or sometimes 4s and sometimes 3s, we are missing reps. But you're walking the fine line of making or missing it. So if someone at the gym is supposed to do 4 sets of 5, and they go 5, 5, 4, 4, that's perfect to me. Or if they go 5, 5, 4, 3, I said, they'll come show me their folder. I said, that's good. What? Jared, how's that good? And when you're going to true failure like that and you're on the verge of making or missing your reps, you're optimizing all fibers. So what you got to do, if you're missing reps, so like this is the excerpt I was going to say out of the Science of Practice Strength Training, because I wrote it down because I took a picture of it, like I said. It says, if an athlete can lift a barbell 12 times but only does 10, the exercise set is worthless for the training of the MUs that are in the highest recruitment order. So MUs, motor units. So if you've ever heard of me talk about the Henneman size principle or something like that, the fibers are contracted in a sequential order to where the small, the medium, or the small, the intermediate, or medium, then the larger fast twitch fibers are recruited last. So if you've heard me talk about the brief maximum tension method, the brief maximum tension method is the same thing as the max effort method, except for with the low training age of the athletes, you have to do more reps. So you get the same benefit of the brief maximum tension method as you would the maximum effort method, because the body's learning how to recruit the fibers at optimal discharge frequency. So that means you're trying to recruit every fiber, small, medium, and large, all at the same time in order to produce one end result. So by coupling and knowing that the motor unit, the Henneman size principle, and knowing the maximum effort method, and knowing that the brief maximum effort method is for more of the lower class beginning athletes, you can kind of start to put 2 and 2 together. Okay, now it's okay for the miss reps because now we have maximized all the motor units, whether they're small, whether they're big, or whatever. And so over time in training and learning how to recruit fibers to all fire at optimal discharge frequency at the same time, then we're going to create intermuscular coordination and intramuscular coordination. So that means that all fibers within its cell are firing together to create the end result, and all the other outside components, like when you're benching or whatever, you got your biceps to help stabilize, and all those other muscles are coming in to help stabilize that body in order to produce that one end result. So hopefully I didn't go down too big of a rabbit hole right there. But one of the questions that I've got was, Jared, can you talk about hip extension and jumping ability? What lifts do we do for better hip extension? We do not do hip thrusters at all. I think that's a retarded exercise. A lot of people will see a lot of different exercises and say, hey, this is good for this. This is good for that. And this is good because you got so much information on social media. Everybody's trying to be so popular that they're just throwing out an exercise, or they're throwing out an exercise and they get a twist to it in order to make it harder, or, hey, I've not seen that before. Hey, let's try that. Well, the thing about it is you cannot just throw different exercises in from time to time. So like if you do hip extension, you do this time, you do this next time, you do this next time, you're at the end of the day, you're not going to get a great result. It's kind of like I've talked about on podcasts before, is you can't come in and bench one day. Next day you come in and do floor press. Next day you come in and do incline. The next day you come in and do dumbbell bench. Now we're going back to bench. No, you've never maximized that. So like what Louis did is he had all these high level elite powerlifters that had a training age of at least 15 years to where they knew how to recruit that stuff. What they were lagging behind was their accessories. They didn't push their triceps. They did tricep stuff, but they didn't push it, or what I call it at the gym, I call it programming. I'll write down specific sets and reps for some of my athletes at the gym for the tricep press downs, or maybe for their lat pull downs or something like that, if something's lagging because our lifts are not moving in the right direction that way. So, but for direct hip extension, I have my athletes, we'll do 45 hyper, we'll do back attack. But you got to think squatting is a hip extension exercise in itself. And so, like, Jared, y'all do a lot of deadlifts. I only have 2 people out of all the people coming to the gym right now deadlifting. Well, I got 2 guys and 2 girls out of all the people that come to the gym to deadlift. The only reason I got the girls deadlifting is just because one of them wants to break the board record. So I said, okay, we'll just add it in, but for no other purpose besides that. Now, the other guys that I do have deadlifting, when they squat, whether it be the box squat or I've had both of them regular squat, they'll squat down and they'll drive up out of the hole, and about the last quarter of the movement, they slow down and start to hunch over real bad. And the way to get out of that is to deadlift. So that's why those 2 guys are deadlifting. But everybody else, they'll either do the back attack, they'll do the 45 hyper, or won't do anything else at all. So as far as hip extension exercises, deadlifts, very rarely. We do use the 45 hyper, we do use the back attack, or we may just do regular back extensions or hyper extensions, or however what some people want to call it, where you're out straight and go down and come back up. That's about all we do for our hip extensors. Okay, and so the next question is static dynamic method and how it supports running speed and jumping ability. Okay, static dynamic method. Okay, where did I get? That's why we box squat. The static dynamic method, because I'm about to get into some of the science right here where it produces results. So this is coming from the book Super Training. Okay, to create, up top here, it has fitness quality. Which quality of fitness do you want to create? You scroll down here, explosive strength. How do you create explosive strength? Reactive methods. There are 2 types of reactive methods. There's plyometrics and there's contrast methods. Okay, so contrast methods. How can we use contrast methods? You got load release. You can do that with squatting, but not going to be very good because it's just 1 rep at a time. The heavy light set, you can do 1 set heavy, 1 set. There's a lot of work to do, so I'm not going to do that. Stripping, take off weights, nope, which is almost like load release. So pneumatics, no, we don't have anything pneumatically in the gym. Or you got your static dynamic method. So a static dynamic method creates explosive strength, this type of reactive method. And so then if you flip over here, the static dynamic method, this method exploits the fact that the primary isometric tension using 1 or very few repetitions can increase the dynamic strength and the explosive strength of the subsequent action. As a result of the after effect phenomenon, the magnitude of the after effect is influenced by many factors, including the duration of static loading, muscular fatigue, and interval between static stimulus and the subsequent action. So there's other parts in the book Super Training that talk about specific loads to use with it, and it's like 80%. I didn't see it read in that one. This is not my normal Super Training book. This is the more new edition. I like my black book, the black edition of the Super Training, unless I didn't spend a lot of time going through it. My other one's highlighted, so I know everything's that's in it. This one, I was taking the old one, I was going through the new one and highlighting stuff, writing down questions, and trying to create my own index of where to find stuff if I need to look up contrast methods or if I need to look up static dynamic methods. It's in different sections of the book to where you can kind of pull back my own index, because index in Super Training would not be like Jared's index to where I'm looking for these specific strength qualities. And so what I did is I've taken the static dynamic method and I've mixed it with the brief maximum effort method. And so instead of the loads, I thought the loads for the static dynamic method were too light. So I increased the loads for the static dynamic method. And then I weighed that 5%, like you've heard me talk about before, so that I am getting those athletes to be on the verge of failure of making or missing the reps. So sometimes I'll make them, like if a kid came to the gym and he was supposed to do 4 sets of 5, and he goes 5, 4, 3, 3. I think that's absolutely perfect because I know he has maximized the motor unit recruitment. And so the next day we'll come in, I may give them the exact same thing over again. And I said, beat your numbers from last time. So if you went 5, 4, 3, 3, if you go 5, 5, 4, 3, that's a hell of a day. You didn't make all your reps again, but yet we have maximized all the motor units in that small window that's optimizing discharge frequency of all fibers at the same time to create that one subsequent reaction. So if I were to make or increase usually we bench and squat in sets of 5 or less. So we're in that 3 to 5 range, which if you read the brief Max mentioned, we're in that window and we're failing within that window to give us the same thing as the maximum effort method. So there's a lot of stuff I still need to talk about. I probably won't get to it. I'll put this podcast out. I was going to talk about the hip extension. Well, let's cover this. I got to get to the gym. The hip extension exercise. The hip extension exercise we do. If you some of my online people, we use the 45 hyper. The 45 hyper is directly related to the broad jump. So I was training this athlete for his pro day, and people have heard me on earlier podcast. The 45 hyper directly helps improve the broad jump. Don't know why. It's just every time I push the 45 hyper, we don't use it a lot. And so when I do use it, and I'll test the broad jump, and the broad jump just takes off. So within about 5 weeks, this kid went from 810 broad jump to a 9.5 broad jump with the 45 hyper. And the 45 hyper is much more isolated back thing than like the deadlift. The deadlift, if you push like the guys like I have deadlifting, I'm not doing the brief maximum tension method. I'm just giving them, I'm not even trying to maximize motor unit recruitment. I'm just trying to create tension on the tissue, because if you push the squat and if you push the deadlift at the same time, because we're going to squat 3 days a week, we're not going to leave a squat day out to deadlift. Because the athletes have known, that heard on the last podcast, where the kids are not squatting that number of times a month, they're not showing up in their 40-yard dash. So everything I've done has been to show up somewhere in a result. So like I know, we didn't squat 8 times this month. Well, they're probably not going to improve the 40-yard dash. So I'm not going to substitute a squat day for a deadlift day like you see some people do. That may be a way for a powerlifter. That's why people confuse strength training with powerlifting. They either relate it to bodybuilding or they're related to powerlifting. We're strength training for athletes here. It's a totally different thing. And in the mindset, that's why we're not really programming in common ways that most people see. I'm programming in ways of a result or what I see when I test at the end of each month and over time. Like I had a girl, we pushed her 45 hyper up years ago, and she went from a 7.6, 7.7 broad jump to an 8.4 broad jump, and at 150 pounds. But like I said, I don't have everybody doing it all the time. And I think how I came up with that is when I first started the gym, I had one bench or one rack or two. I had a 45 hyper and I had a glute hammer raise. I didn't have but about 4 pieces of equipment. And so I was trying to test, and I would always push the girls on the 45 hyper. And at the end of the first month, every girl, the average was a 6-inch improvement on the broad jump. So I kept using it. I'd take it out, broad jump on the move. And I just kind of added it in, and now I add it in as needed for different people based off what we're trying to do as a result. So that's the hip extension exercise. I hope I covered the brief maximum tension and how I've incorporated it into the static dynamic method, especially for our box squatting to produce these sprint results. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, please email me, info@Explosive Mechanics. I know the last podcast I did, training results cut out the last 5-10 minutes. I'll try to find that information. It's going to be fully on YouTube, but I don't know why the audio cut out on it. So I'll figure that out later. But anyway, email me, info@Explosive Mechanics. Message me on Instagram @Explosive Mechanics, Twitter @Explosive MEC. Twitter's starting to grow a little bit more. I'll start posting a little bit more on there, but who knows? I'll try to do a better job of these podcasts. Like I'm not very consistent with stuff. Michael Fahey came and visited me this week. We talked a little bit about that. So thanks, Michael, for the visit. I'll get into what we kind of talked about on the next one. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.